guys that I grew up with, they're pretty excited about making 18 bucks an hour working in our kitchen. I would love to hire folks that could have a starting wage. It's a junior wage, something like that, so that we can incentivize kids to work and get to know the workplace, but also help those business owners. So that was kind of my first kind of what the hell's going on up there. And then, I'm finishing up my second term, and guys, I usually can connect with anybody. I can go up to anybody and say, have you thought about this? Can I just explain to you my story? And that's not the case up in Olympia. It's probably one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen. I genuinely, I sign on to bills that are sometimes controversial because they're a train wreck. And I have my leadership say to me, what the hell are you doing signing on to these bills? And I say, hey, I get along with that person. I think they'll let me come in and fix a few things that, I know the bill's garbage, but if we can get the few wins that we need, then I'm going to consider that a win. That's been my approach, and it's worked so far, but I can tell you that I have had people, and there might be a few of you in here that say, just go up there and scream and yell yell at the speaker when you're passing these shit bills and all this stuff, and I say, I'll get thrown out of that place as fast as you're telling me that story. So you have to be civil, you have to know how to talk to each other, I'm not, I try not to go negative, guys, so it's very difficult. I'll just tell you, it's two mindsets. I just listened to a press conference today. It was yesterday. This guy from Seattle that's running an income tax bill. They can call it whatever they want. It's an income tax bill. It's going to be 5% on anything over $150,000 a year. And my parents make our businesses. We make millions of dollars gross. They want to hit the gross. They don't believe in hitting net. If my parents have to pay, if our family has to pay 5% on $8-10 million, my parents don't make a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money. It would take all of our income as a family to pay the tax. Take all my siblings and I don't think that's fair because we're just trying to employ some folks and make a living. So we'll see how that policy goes. The flip side of the thinking is that that's the demand that this government has, and we got to pay for it, and that's what their thinking is. My thinking is that take out some of the regulations, you might be able to build some houses, hire some people, and actually spread the wealth a little bit. But then I get called Reaganomics when I say that. So anyway, I'll leave it up to you guys. You guys have probably the most concerns, and honestly, I got 2 phone calls today, one from a gentleman. He runs the PUD in Skamania County. He's not a guy that ever calls me, and when he does call, I always answer. And he hit me at the right time, so I'm hoping for some stuff that he wants to see change for the PUDs. I'm hoping that maybe today I hear your guys' insight and can just take some ideas with me to Olympia. And I'll end with this. You're catching me. I got a little bit of a head cold, but I am angry. I do vote no. I do tell people no. And I'll end with this story, which is I had a Democrat member come to me who wanted to let. I was a corrections officer for a short time, and I had a Democrat member come to me that wanted to let folks out who'd done heinous crimes, let them out of jail after 5 years if they had good behavior. And this is the perspective I want you guys to know that I bring. Met with that member. Her and I get along really great. Very progressive member. And I told her some very hard stories that I dealt with, murders that I dealt with. And these 2 particular murders that I dealt with, and these are Skamania County. So in Clark County, this stuff happens every day. Skamania County, it's every other year, maybe. But after I explained to her the heinous murders that were done, I said, so do you think that guy should get out? And she looked at me and she said, you dealt with some messed up stuff, man. And I said, I'm in a county of 12,000 people. There's, this stuff's happening every day. I'm just telling you my little story that I have from Skamania County. So I want you to know that's the kind of way I think I can win people's hearts and minds, is just by telling those real stories. And in the end, the bill didn't go. She actually decided from that conversation. She came up and thanked me. And I told her, I said, the family, by the way, is already, the families who I know and grew up with, I said, they'd like to talk to you as well. Boy, she didn't want to do that. So, I think just bringing a little bit more perspective and not so much talking points, I think really helps up in Olympia. So with that, I'll let you guys ask questions. Go for it.
Income tax bill they're proposing have any chance at all?
No, I don't think so.
What's the question?
Does the income tax bill have any chance at all? No. And the governor today, whether I believe him or not, he came out and said he's not going to sign anything with new taxes today. His budget that he's proposing, that I think is getting released today or tomorrow, I think it's today, it's going to have all cuts, no increases. Now, I'll be real with you guys. The governor, God bless him, he came and spoke to us and said the same thing in our caucus room, and we were all really excited. And then he went and signed all those tax bills. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so I'll believe it when I see it. And I say that too because I really think, don't get me wrong, he's a very moderate Democrat. I actually think he wants to go on the side of moderation. I think he got threatened. Even a governor can get threatened. So
Interesting, the report where Washington State's losing many more people that are coming in.
I saw that.
One of the worst states for that going on. California is probably the worst. People are leaving in droves because of the cost of living and taxes and all.
yeah, he's saying there was a report in the Columbian. I read that article too. There's a report in the Columbian that Washington State is in the top 5 for people leaving. I think it's every 2 minutes, basically. People are leaving the state because of taxes. And I'll tell you, we are turning into, I used to say, just from Skamania County's perspective, we're turning into a bedroom community. I would now say we're turning into a bedroom state. We are seeing mass exodus of young families. We're seeing a trove of wealthy folks move up from California. That's not me making it up. I'm telling you what I get briefed on. So it's concerning because do you guys, if I come to you and say, do you want to pay a bond? Do you want to pay $3 more, $1,000 on bond? Hell no, you don't. I think that we have to realize that we got to keep young families, and it's the cost of living. I mean, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. When my staff is making $90,000 a year and they literally cannot afford a house, that to me is insanity. That you can A, make 90 grand a year as a server, but B, you can't afford a house in Clark or Skamania County. That's crazy. So.
Yeah, can you tell us about another topic that you're involved in other than taxes?
Sure. The other stuff that I work on, so I'm on, so the committees, thanks for bringing that up. The committees that I serve on are state government, which is a lot of the voting laws. It's a lot of Secretary of State stuff. I did deal with my first term, I was on the Liquor Cannabis Committee. So I did run a lot of liquor cannabis bills because as port commissioner, I dealt with cannabis a lot because that's where usually cannabis growers go, is to ports. And then I dealt with a lot of liquor laws because those liquor laws are from they're literally Depression era laws that we haven't seen upgrades to. And a lot of breweries in this area definitely are hurting. And then the last thing is timber. And I kind of get laughed out of the room a lot. I would say timber is probably the thing I focus on the most. I'm the first generation not to work in a sawmill in my family in 5 generations. So timber is how we've been funding schools. I talk to Camas Washougal and they'll say they're broke. And I say, are you talking about timber revenue? And they'll say, what is that? that scares me because it's Skamania County, Clickitat County, who I represent, those two counties still really rely on timber revenue. So I also brought it up with Clark County. Clark County admitted that they would like to look more into timber revenue as well because they're seeing that it's missing. So I would say, and then infrastructure, that's the other thing I've been working on is how do we get broadband. We have a lot of gaps with broadband, and how do we get broadband to communities that don't have it. There's a lot of areas just north of here that, believe it or not, are on Starlink. But I could go into broadband, it's messed up. it has a lot of issues. So those are kind of the other things I get.
As far as the city natures, Vancouver, it's very heavy on the homeless issue. So where are you out there in the 12,000 people?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, I would say for me, the homeless issue, so Senator Harris has been, well, when he was rep, we had a bill that came through that was gonna allow folks to stay in public areas that maybe weren't used. And one of those areas was Clark College. Clark College came out and said, we're against homelessness, or we're against housing the homeless on our campus. But I think what we've been pushing for is kind of going back to the affordability. And that's what I've been pushing on. Senator Harris is more, how do we get funding for these homes? So mental health facilities are a big one. That's something, capital budget that I sit on, trying to get more mental health facilities open up. We just had a meeting with the governor and trying to get more mental health facilities open up. The governor's office basically told us, like, you're out of money. Like, there is no money. So go find a private group to take over these mental health facilities. We've got two just locally here that the state has paid for, but they haven't opened. They're literally just sitting there.
Is that Brockman?
Brockman's one of them, and Madrona is the other one.
Yeah,
Both facilities are literally just sitting there.
empty.
Empty. And we also have problems with, we've been working with the county, and the county has not been wanting to open them up because they're like, well, their landscaping's not done. We come back to that and say, why don't you look past the landscaping,
Yeah.
let these guys get in there and let them open up. Madrona, I believe we have the funding for, but the Brockman facility, we do not. So yeah, go for it.
A lot of time seems to be spent on how to put more money at it, but I hear nothing about what are we gonna do to fix it, to deal with it, make it better.
Tons of money thrown at it.
I agree.
Is that part of your discussion you guys get into?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think, and you're not gonna like, I mean, maybe you will like this answer, maybe you won't, but I think the hard part is that we try to look at it as a caucus as it's a whole issue. It's not just one issue. So it's like, even if people are working, can they afford a home? Well, I can tell you as a business owner, they can't. And then you could say, well, are they making enough money to buy a home? Well, I think they are. I think 80, 90,000 a year, you should be able to buy a home. I deal with my own staff who is somewhat, I wouldn't say homeless, but they definitely struggle with finding a place to live. And they don't have the mental health issues or that. So that's where I just sit there and go, is it folks that are working that are homeless that are, I think you'd be surprised we've worked with a lot of homeless who come into my office, and a lot of them are working or are 2 jobs, and I deal with groups that come in. So the last thing I'll say is you're right. We've thrown, I think the figure was almost $2 billion in the last 2 sessions, 3 sessions at homelessness, and the numbers aren't getting better. And I think the other thing is when I was driving, I went north of Olympia one day. I was going to Tacoma, and I don't usually go north of Olympia because I don't have a reason to. There was homeless camps all along I-5, basically to Tacoma. I mean, in my opinion, it was pretty. And I just went, the majority drives by this every day on their way from Seattle to Olympia, and we don't talk about it. Like, what we do talk about is, well, we gotta give this group a bunch of money. Oh, we gotta give this group a bunch of money. But we don't actually talk about the policies that are putting these people on the street. And that's what I think it is. And to your point, do we try to talk about it? Yes. But do we get those bills heard in committee? No. Do we try to talk to folks about it? And I will tell you, I mean, I'm one of 39, majority's at 58. So
Wow.
or 59, it's 59. It's a really difficult trying to have those conversations because to them, they look as, well, that means all of our programs have failed. And it's like, well, something's failed. Yeah, it's failed. Yeah, Phil.
Can you, your interest in timber is very important to our LD. There are aspects of what the state government does, particularly the land commissioner up to go, and the federal government, including a congressman. Do their positions on timber somewhat align with you, or we kind of align with those three elements, or we go in different directions?
Say Marie and I are on the same page. Her first day in office, she called me and said, tell me every timber position you've got on the federal side, and I did. And we have tried to be very cohesive in that message together because she is from Skamania. The commissioner has refused to meet with me. He says I'm too angry. I'm not angry. I think that there can be work done. I think that I go back to DC and I advocate. I actually just met with Senator Murray last month, and I advocated for, if anything, I'm now begging for fire. If we can just do fire retention, fire mitigation, that right there will start filling the coffers of the schools, the counties, and DNR should have an interest in working with the Forest Service to do that fire mitigation because most of DNR's property is adjoining to federal property. So they want to keep their stands protected. Where the commissioner and I very much differ, well, two things. For the first time ever, our caucus hosted the CEO of Microsoft. It's the first time in 30 years the CEO of Microsoft's ever been our caucus. And Microsoft is, I'll be candid, they're pretty upset with how things are going right now. Homeless is a big deal. They're getting taxed out of Seattle, so they had to move everybody to Bellevue, them and Amazon, and now they're quietly thinking about moving Microsoft to Canada, and that's real. Like they are talking about that. Microsoft has a team of people that have come to me personally and said, we can do work in AI with timber. And I think what you're seeing, and I think what you're gonna see, my prayer and Marie's prayer, is that you're gonna stop getting people that walk out in the forest and go, we have to protect this mighty thing. Well, of course you've gotta protect it. But I would rather have technology that says, it's basically what it is it's drone technology that flies over stands and says that tree's bad, that's a fire hazard, you have a chance of fire there. And it basically tells you where to cut out and how to do selective logging, and it's so scientifically driven that there is no BS in it. There is no, you put in streams, you put in that stuff. So I'm actually meeting with the commissioner tomorrow for the first time. And that is going to be my message, is that you have Microsoft wanting to take this on, work with DNR, work with the feds. Why not use that integration? And I think it'd be beautiful. I think the thing that people get misconstrued is that my dad, to be fully transparent, my dad ran the sawmill out in Carson for 25 years. And when I go do tours of it, it's crazy to me because there's literally a third the people, or 2/3 the people that don't work there anymore because every job is automated. So do I think timber will bring back this giant swath of jobs? Maybe a little bit, but really what it's going to bring back is the revenue and the safety. Because we're also seeing, it's not just Skamania County, I represent all the way to Goldendale. So I represent from basically the 205 bridge to Brush Prairie, all the way over to Goldendale, so into Hawkinson and over to Goldendale. So a lot of these people are losing their insurance in these outlying areas. And I think that if there was a way for us to work with these folks and say, hey, you know, we're taking on AI now, we're doing fire prevention, we're working with the feds. And lastly, the commissioner wants to take 77,000 acres out of he wants to take it out of production. That's a 22% reduction to the schools and to Klickitat, Skamania County. It's less here because they're not as dependent on timber funds now, but it is a huge reduction to the other two counties that I represent. So, you know, my thing is like, just do this smart. Like, if you're like, hey, I want to save trees, like, I mean, I'm not against it, you know, but we got to be smart about it. I don't want people show up at our grocery store all the time and they're like, yeah, I went and I, you know, walked through this stand and my dad and I are like, that got cut. It's not old growth and it got cut 30 years ago, so I'm sorry, you know. So I think if we can be smarter about it, that's what I hope I can convey to the commissioner. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the dams. I know you don't probably have anything to do with it, but this policy of tearing down dams along the Columbia, I'm against it 100%. And what is the theory behind it besides being greeny?
Well, I think a couple things. I'll watch my words. I think the first thing you're seeing, of course, is salmon concerns. Because this district doesn't really have a tribe, we have 4 treaty tribes that all have agreed to rights along the river and stuff, and Cowlitz have agreements here, but we don't actually have one tribe, one reservation that is in this district. It's very unique compared to most of the districts across. They generally try to get a reservation or some sort of tribal country in each district so you can represent. So I got asked to be the tribal liaison for the Republican caucus. And I would say, I think first and foremost, it's salmon is what they're concerned about. But I also think the other thing that you guys aren't seeing is there is a play by the tribes to be in control of power.
Yeah,
And
that's what it
and that's not a
the
secret.
dams provide us with our power.
Yeah.
I mean, our bills are high enough, but without the dams, we're
Yeah, so
California.
So every tribe that is along the river that I have visited is looking into making their own power. The Yakimas right now have a system. The best way I can describe it to you is it's a way they describe it to me. It's like a grandfather clock. So you need a big giant hill, and you have this giant concrete thing that comes down and it moves the other two, and the friction causes electricity. Don't ask me any more about that. That's all I can explain. But that project, first phase, is 2/3 of one dam power production, and they can keep adding on. It runs in like a rail system. I think in the next year, you're going to start seeing where tribes are not going to be so quiet and say, well, we really believe that we get to control power and that we will be the head of power. Tribes have a lot of weight. Now, do I think the dams are going to come? I don't think the dams are going to come out. 96% return rate on salmon. It's the most carbon-friendly power production. I went and toured the Dalles Dam. The Dalles Dam has a direct current line that goes all the way to LA.
Yeah.
It is a straight line.
You can see it.
Instant power too, by the way. So there's that one line is 700,000 homes. So there's no way that they're going to be able to fill that in.
Well, they have destroyed some dams.
Oh yeah. No, they
You know,
destroyed.
don't say they're not going to, because they already have.
Pacific Power destroyed a dam in Skamania County that was the relay backup if our substation went down. Well, guess what? We had an ice storm, substation went down, we didn't have power for 7 days in the county because of that dam being taken out. So, to your point, absolutely. I think it's more of a federal issue, but I think it's a long game if they do that. I mean, we're talking 50 years from now. I just don't see it. What I do see is tribes will keep making power and figure out better ways to make power. And they're gonna sell it because they're gonna have to sell it because the demand is so high. And then, speaking of Microsoft and Amazon, those guys wanna build their own nuclear facilities and get totally off the grid, and they want nothing to do with our power. So,
Well, they need it for AI.
yeah, and they need it for AI, which, you know, is crazy in itself. So, I agree with you. I'm 100% agreement with you. Yeah.
So a quick question, I didn't see the numbers in that Columbian article. You said that there's families moving out. Do you have any numbers on businesses moving out? You're talking about Microsoft, Amazon talking about it, but are you actually seeing a mass exodus of businesses leaving the state?
I'll be real, I haven't been briefed yet on
Okay.
it, but I'm sure. I'm sure. I met with a guy, so I met with a gentleman, he's 93. He just sold his recycling garbage disposal business. He owns, he's got 4 counties that he takes care of in Chelan, basically. Chelan, Douglas, that whole north central area of Washington. And he's got this insane car collection. It would make you guys just very jealous. And he said, I'm going to go die in Arizona. And he, I mean, he's not close to dying. He's got a lot of life in him still. But he just said, I can't afford to die here.
Yeah.
And he said, and that's why I sold the business as well, was so I can get out of this.
Yeah.
And I think he said the savings would save him $5 million. So, yeah.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
You say people are leaving Washington, but people are coming from California to Washington. Well, what's the point, and what kind of people are coming from California here? And the other question is, when I was young, and I didn't live here, I used to see the Republicans and the Democrats go back and forth in power in our state. And, you know, they'd say, well, people would switch. They'd go, well, let's let those guys take over for a while and see how they do.
Yeah.
Now, out here, I've been here for 5 years, and I see this mess that's out here. I mean, it's a mess. And I don't see, everybody's so loyal to what they're doing here. I just don't understand why they don't go, hey, we got to get some people that are a little more moderate to kind of get this thing kind of back on track.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's that's a tough one. I think what you're seeing, so the people that moving up from California, they're usually people that were caught in a fire, or they were able to sell their house and they're coming up here with a ton of money because their home values are just so much more down in California, and they can buy stuff for a quarter of the cost here. So that's the first one. The second one is those people generally have money. So those are the folks that they don't care. It's still cheaper than California to move to Washington State. The fire risk maybe to them, because we get rain here, isn't as crazy. I can tell you personally, if my grandparents' house that I own, I've seen 3 of my neighbors sell out in the last few years. They were all original neighbors too. All 3 were from California that moved here. So I got nothing against it. It's just that's what's happening. I think I served with a woman, Linda Wilson, Senator Wilson. You know Senator Wilson
Yes.
is
Oh, yeah.
who I love. She
I do too.
she is basically living in Idaho half-time now. And her
Like
kids,
Inslee.
Well, Inslee, that's a rumor, actually. Yeah, he's not.
He skipped town pretty
yeah,
quick.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something that'll piss you off about Inslee in a second. He hasn't left town. He
too bad.
actually he took a job lobbying for trial attorneys to go after people that PUDs and electrical systems with fire. So he is lobbying for the bad guys, in my opinion. But to your point, I don't have a good answer. I think that people are so scared of Trump, and we just saw it. We saw a special election where there was a woman that I served with. She's been a House member for 12 years, and her opponent, she ran for the Senate in a special election, ran for the Senate and lost. And all her opponent did was basically say, this woman is tied to Donald Trump. And I can tell you, serving with her, I've never heard her once talk about Donald Trump. She really knows Gig Harbor pretty well, but so she lost that race. So I think, and like the press conference I saw yesterday, there was a reporter, her name's Brandy Cruz. Brandy asked this question to the guy who was proposing the state income tax. And she just said, you know, we've added more taxes. We're seeing people leave. We've got homeless, you know, we've got all these problems. How are we going to pay for this? And all he kept saying was, your questions are dangerous. These are dangerous questions you're asking. It's like, these aren't dangerous questions. How the hell are you going to pay for it? You know, like, how are you going to do all these great things you want to go do? And I think people too, just spitballing with you guys, but I think people just rely on the government too much. I mean, they think that it can do anything, and I mean, you got to have a lot of money to do it. So it's crazy to me. It's crazy. Yeah.
So there was some money from the governor for local public safety.
Oh yeah.
We heard from the sheriff, Clark Sheriff, a few months back talking about trying to get some of that money.
It's crap.
So has that been a good thing? Has it worked at all, or, and is there more opportunity for law enforcement support that way?
I think the governor's intentions truly were good. I think he wanted to write a check from the state for $100 million to just go out. I think the House got that bill and said, no, you need to do it. So it's a tax program. So basically, Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, can implement a tax and use that as a credit somehow. It's not really clear. And I actually just read an article about that bill, and it has not been tapped. City of Seattle has tapped it. They've hired one person so far. So basically, that bill did nothing, unfortunately.
So Skamania, Clickitat, Clark, not seeing any
We're
money
not gonna see it.
from that. Will they, or is it just quietly been shelved?
It's up to every county. So it's up to every county and city if they want to. If it basically allowed a county and city to come in and say, well, we can charge you a tax now, and I don't think it needs a vote. So they can come in and just up your property taxes overnight and say it's for police, which
So the $100 million was really kind of a shell game.
yeah. There was no money behind it. There's no money put into it. It was more up to just allowing another tax preference for cities and counties to be able to pass it on to every one of us to pay for it. So, yeah, not good. Not good. Anything else? Yeah, Phil.
So, one, I'd like to start by thanking you for being here today. I've been around 10 years in Fairwood Village. Not every politician or elected official, Democrat or Republican, will come here. And thank you for your dealing fairly with inquiries from residents, not everyone gets feedback. So with that being said, now, unfortunately, not everyone's like you in the legislature. You've been there now, you're in your second term. Would you say that both parties are getting more or less cooperative or ideological? Is it easier for you to deal with people within your party that have differences in the other party, or things getting worse?
Well, so 2 stories. And sorry, guys, I talk way too much.
No, you're good.
It's a bad thing. But first story is when I got elected, I was scared shitless of going up there and talking to a Democrat because I just thought they're gonna, give me the hand. I always say, especially when it's like 1 o'clock in the morning when we're on the floor still, I always say, I wish there was hidden cameras and that the public could see this. Because genuinely as people, like my dad, so sorry, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So my dad, we have the bar or the pub, and my dad sits at the end of the bar every day, and I'm Catholic. Obviously, I'm pro-life as best as I can be in my belief, and my dad's very staunch pro-life Catholic. And there's this woman sitting across from him, and it's a woman that we've known forever. And she got up and left, and he goes, isn't she great? Blah, blah. My mom was sitting there too. I said, yeah, she's great. And I said, what do she's had an abortion, Dad. And he goes, what? And I said, yeah. And I said, so do you want to treat her all the things you were telling me, because he tells me, like, go up there and, you just effing tell him that, you know. He was also the same guy that said, if I was as big as you, I'd be meaner on the football field, you know. And I'm like, yeah, sorry, Dad. You know, he's this tall. So, so my whole point there is that, you know, I told my dad, I said, Dad, there's a human element in this legislature, you know. And so I think to your point, I get along equally. I don't really feel like my caucus is this like brain trust of great ideas in their caucus. I think you can, I'll be real, I've had members in their caucus come and apologize to us after they vote the way they vote. Because they know. They know it's bad. They also have their own issues, which is like the gas ban bill. We had the gas ban, the natural gas ban. The governor and the speaker were sitting over the two people that were the yes or no vote on that. And I don't know about you guys. Now, I don't frankly care if the governor's sitting there watching me, but when it's your own party and you are a chair of a committee and they are threatening your chairmanship or chairwomanship, guarantee you, you're going to vote yes. And I can even show you the clip where a woman got up on the House floor and said, 90% of my emails say to vote no tonight, and I'm going to vote yes tonight because, and then she went into it. But you know what the camera didn't show you was the frickin' governor and the Speaker of the House sitting 3 feet away from her going,
You better
you're
vote.
damn right you better vote yes for that, you know. So we see that, and that's the stuff that I wish people could see is you have, I think, great members on both sides that really genuinely want to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, their party, and I would say more so on their side because they are in control, so they have to be aligned. And it is frustrating, though, because there is moderate members that I go up to and I'm like, why? Like, stand up and just, and they're like, dude, if I stand up, I'm out. Like, they will run someone against me. Like, I mean, I'll end with this. I had a compact bill, nursing compact bill. We had two generals, one from Spokane, one from up north. Two generals from the bases get up and say, we have to have this nursing compact bill. And it's basically so that nurses from all across the United States can easily just come and practice here. The reason why was because the military bases were assigning people to that base, and they were moving on 3 years later and never even became a nurse because they could never get licensed. We did the hearing. The chair and I talked, and I said, you know that we've got to pass this. And she goes, I know, but I may not be here next year if I do this. And I said, that's messed up. So we can't be that way either, you know, and that's the stuff that upsets me. And guys, to be honest with you, I don't plan on going, like, I don't have, like, I love Skamania, as you can tell, like, I don't want to go anywhere else. So I think it's a lot of people have ambitions to go other places, and you can't be that way, so, yeah.
Just every time we, and I'm sure all you guys talk about it, it's, how can we spend more money? We need more money. Let's do more money. When do you guys talk about how we can reduce in what area?
So we actually, that's a great question. We had our budget writer, Travis Couture. If you guys are on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or X, I don't get on there, but Travis Couture is our lead budget writer for the Republicans. And we've come out, the Senate, Senator Braun came out with a bill this last year that was a cut, no tax increases, we didn't really kill services, kept everything in line. We introduced those bills, but they go nowhere. I mean, we're told to go sit down. So you can find those bills, and we do come out with ideas. Yeah. So and lastly, we're not allowed in the budget. We're not allowed to be in the room when they talk budget. So
How can they do that? I'm sorry, go ahead,
they're in the
Steve.
majority. Yeah.
Any general observation on what it would take to get more Republicans in the state elected? I mean, the lands commissioner thing, for example, seemed like a really good opportunity that was lost. How do we, across the state, get better at this?
I think the way we get better is really, I spoke to a member that was considering running against Marie. And Marie and I have, I'll be candid, I'm sorry guys, but Marie and I get along pretty well. But so does Senator Braun and I. So I mean, like now I'm like, oh crap, I love both of these people. I would say it's very frustrating when you're trying to tell other members, think about home. Don't get messed up in all this national crap. And I mean, we actually get emails from the House ethics folks, like weekly. They're like, you are not federal members, so stop using state resources on federal issues. And I think that for Republicans, you know, I've been told when I go to events, I'm like, hey, I'm working on the new Camas-Washougal Slough Bridge. I mean, you know, I just put a group of 40 businesses together to write a letter to the governor and everybody. That to me is the real work that needs to be done as a representative, to say, hey, you guys want a new bridge? Well, I do too, because I cross that thing all the time. And the way we do it is I need all you businesses to write this giant letter and send it to the governor, the budget writers. I think if you can show that, and then I go and say, now I don't really have any inclination of running for anything else, but if I were, I'd say, you know, I put a group of 50 businesses together. We talked about the Slough Bridge. We got the funding for it. You're not hearing that. You're hearing, I'm going to go up there and I'm just, my dad. I always say my dad. He's the worst perspective. But I think that, you know, you got to have people that understand their district. I think a lot of times what I deal with is I deal with people that are like, yeah, I moved here 2 years ago and I ran. I'm like, you don't know this place. Like, you don't know home. But they're talking on all the talking points. So that's what gets them through. I think the reason why I've done well so far is, you know, like Slough Bridge. I mean, every year Senator Harris and I are like begging for that thing. So
When it falls over.
yeah, well, till something happens really
Yep.
sad and scary. So so I think it's more kitchen table stuff. I mean, that sounds old school, but that's like, that to me is, I didn't have anybody run against me last time, and I went to the Democrats and said, don't you got anybody? And they're like, oh, you're pretty, you know, like pretty easygoing, pretty great to deal with. That's great. Let's have more of that. Like, you know, I mean, so anyway. Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, our mailbox over here was blown up, you know, just
Oh, yeah.
before the election, and it was stuffed with ballots, seriously. Now, I'm not gonna say it was primarily Democrat or Republican, but there's a good chance they were primarily Republican. And so far, we've heard crickets, nothing. They had a camera, they saw the car, whatever. So what's happened? I mean, it just seems to me that's a federal offense, it should be some offense.
Yeah,
So then why do we have mail-in ballots?
yeah.
And this was not the only one, there was another one downtown, and then, of course, Portland had one too. But,
Yeah, wasn't the
Maybe we
case
should
turned
look-
over to the FBI or something like that?
It was, and I don't know.
and they just dropped it.
Yeah.
It's just
Is
like
that-
crickets.
Yeah.
I know that Greg Kinsey, when it first happened, he sent out a thing saying they tried, I think it was like 4 ballots out of the whole box they claimed they couldn't do, but I have no idea.
He was here at the Dem Forum a couple weeks ago. Do you remember what he said, Phil?
Yeah,
About that?
I believe that the FBI is still investigating, but they have.
Well, yeah, it's been, what,
Yeah,
a
They did
year?
heroic effort to.
yeah, but he
place
talked,
most of the votes one way or
Yeah.
another. Some of the ballots they could read, and then they contacted some other people.
So is there any chance that we go back to not mail in and vote in person?
I know. I mean, I don't think so. The thing that I have been hitting for, and I asked for it this last session, I got beat up pretty good for it, was I asked for us to invest in in-person voting.
Yeah,
Now, I'm going to take a totally different side street on you and think about this. When you used to go and vote in schools and fire departments,
churches,
at churches, and your county courthouse, it was a way, and I never thought of it this way until a person that I would have never guessed told me her perspective. But she said, it was the best way for us to show off our school to the voters when people were coming in and voting in person. And it was a great way for us to get our bonds and levies passed as well, because they would come in and say, holy moly, this school needs some help.
It's falling apart.
Or, holy moly, look at all the kids and oh my gosh, whatever. There is a correlation of school funding, those kind of bond levies, junior tax districts, actually seeing a decline in votes for them because people aren't going into those public buildings and saying, oh my God, we do need a new fire hall, like this is duh. So I took that perspective. They still told me I was a radical righty. So, I mean, the bills that I killed this year, so I killed 3 bills. I killed one bill that was, instead of voting every year, it'd just be an every other year vote. We just have every other year voting.
We have about 10 of them here, it seems to me.
So-
Every year, we vote on something every year.
Yeah, so the one thing that I said was, well, if you go to odd year voting, or even year voting, you're gonna have a ballot that's 4 pages long, and by the 3rd page, people are gonna stop voting. We killed that one, thankfully. Ranked choice voting was another one that I worked on. Ranked choice voting has not worked. They're being, we got told that it was racist if we don't pass it. We brought up figures from Portland that showed in probably the most wide demographics, those areas of Portland see the least amount of voter turnout in ranked choice voting because they don't understand the process, they don't understand what they're doing. And so those were 2 bills that I was really glad, but I kept bringing up, let's vote in person, because to me, it's like, hey, you get to show off your courthouse, or you get to show off your school, and they're
I
like,
was a captain of my precinct in California, Bakersfield, for many years, Republican at that time. And it was just it was either at a home or a church, sometimes a school, And it was amazing because the neighbors, people met each other, and it was a very nice, I thought it worked out just great. It was a lot of work for me to get everything prepared.
yeah.
But, then you had the poll watchers that would come in and tick off who was voting and whatever. And so it was good for both parties to see who was in their precinct was voting or not voting, But that's cat's out of the bag here, I guess. There's just mail-in and that's it.
Yeah, well, and if you're against mail-in, then all of a sudden you're just a crazy person.
Well, we take ours downtown because of,
Yeah. The safest thing to
Yeah.
do is to
Yeah.
get it all the way downtown, yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
I'm
well, thank
running
you.
to Olympia now, but thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you.